Hello, thank you for coming today. I can't tell you how happy I am to welcome you to Princeton Innovation Center BioLabs. It's our first in-person public event since February 2020. My name is Michelle Romer-Schoen, and I'm the events manager here. We have a wonderful panel discussion lined up for you tonight. I'm sure you'll find it interesting and informative. If you aren't familiar with us, Princeton Innovation Center BioLabs was founded in 2018 by Princeton University. Managed by BioLabs, it is a premier co-working space for technology and life science startups in New Jersey. Before I hand the mic over to Kathleen Covillo, Chief Economic Transformation Officer at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, I want to thank Lindsay Harcum, Director of the New Jersey Bioscience Center at North Brunswick, for collaborating with us on this event. Thank you, Lindsay. Kathleen is responsible for many of the incentive and funding programs you will learn about today. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This event is being recorded and will be available to view at a later date on our YouTube channel. Our guest Wi-Fi is Welcome One with a capital W and the number 1, all one word, and the bathrooms are located down the hall on the left. And now on with the program. Kathleen.
So I'm double-fisted. I wish it was with something better, but I understand this is for recording. So great to be with you all tonight. Again, my name is Kathleen Covillo. I lead many of the initiatives at the EDA that are focused on the life science sector and have been working in this sector for the Economic Development Authority for the last 17 years, prior to which I was in the venture banking industry and supporting life science companies. So really excited to be with all of you here. I want to share some highlights with everybody on what's going on both at the EDA and in the state of New Jersey. And, you know, part of our job is to sell the state, but there is quite a story, I think, going on in the life science sector in New Jersey that we need to get out to folks. So this map represents companies that have signed new leases or expanded leases in the state of New Jersey just since January. Just since January. Over 10 million square feet of new space for life science companies in the state of New Jersey. Now, mind you, this is coming out of COVID, right? And a lot of companies are trying to decide what their future holds, who's going to be in the office, who's going to be remote, you know, hiring from Wichita, Kansas, because it's cheaper. But when we look at the outlook for the life science industry in New Jersey, this is a key indicator for us. This industry is booming in the state. And when we look at the incentives and operational support that the EDA can lend to these companies, we keep coming up with new scripted, prescriptive support given the growth and the pivot of this industry. We all know how important the life science industry was to get us through the last 2.5 years with discovery and testing and medicines. What we're looking at from an economic development perspective is that this industry comes into the office. This industry is part of the community. And this is a great example of this. So we're leaning in the state in industries that are place-based, and life science is certainly one of them. Princeton BioLabs is a great example of that. And we have a number of different programs that you're going to hear about today. But I think, you know, I keep saying to my colleagues, Kara Moore and Judith Sheft, this is the money slide. Like, this is the story that we have to get out. This is the hidden gem in New Jersey. The other one, and speaking of money slide, you know, a big indicator of how an industry is doing is the amount of venture capital that goes into that industry. So we are regularly tracking at the EDA the amount of funding that goes into businesses. This is a staggering number, $11 billion into New Jersey life science companies. And what you'll see is it's broken out and color-coded by subsector of the industry. Sorry, my alarm was going off to tell me it was time to start wrapping up at home and get home from work. So, you know, I just think that these are two really important data points that we want to leave you with, that this industry is an important industry to us in the state. It's growing jobs. despite, everything that's going on in the world. And what you're going to hear today is a lot of great resources that we have. Hopefully you'll hear firsthand from folks like Marco that have participated in many of our programs. And the other thing I'll share with you, we just announced a brand new program called NJMVP, Manufacturing Voucher Program, on Monday. You might have seen the governor was down at a company called Raw Generation in Freehold, New Jersey. It's for manufacturers. Well, guess what? Life science, most of you are manufacturers. It will provide up to $250,000 of funding for new equipment, and that's a grant. So up to 50% of the costs, up to $250,000 grant for new equipment to expand, upgrade, upskill your manufacturing in the state. So just want to put that on everybody's radar. It's opening in December. So if you have plans on expanding your business and you want some free money, it's a great resource for you. So MVP, pretty clever name the team came up with, and you can find out about it. It's live on our website with a little bit more information. I do want to call out some of the team members, because if you don't have a New Jersey Economic Development Authority NJEDA contact, or a Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology contact, so the commission you'll hear about from Judith, a bit of a sister agency to us at the EDA, really at the earliest stage of innovation in New Jersey, you need to find one, because there are always resources for you. And we, as I mentioned, are continually adding to our portfolio of support, and a lot of those new ideas comes from when we're out talking to people. So if my colleagues would stand, Grace is the newest member of our team, just joined our venture team, and works on a lot of our venture products. Folks may have heard we just launched the Innovation Evergreen Fund, so see Grace if you're fundraising and raising capital. Maku Etta on the commission team. Francis Keel, stand up if you would. Lindsay, you already heard from. Kara and Judith are on the panel. Any other EDA folks I missed in the room? No. Okay, so these are the folks to meet. Make sure you meet them, again, from the commission and the EDA. We're really, really thrilled to have you all in person again. BioLabs has a really important part in our ecosystem. It was the announcement of our place-based economic support to help companies locate and provide free rent. We were here with Governor Murphy, how many years ago, Michelle, now? 5? Yeah. I think it was the first announcement the governor had on new programs at the EDA. So there's lots. We don't expect anybody to be an expert in all the different initiatives. Just find somebody and find a friend who'll go through it with you all. So speaking of finding a friend, I'm going to turn the microphone over to John Pennett. John is a great partner to the EDA. He actually serves on our advisory board and has been for over a dozen years. For our incubator up in North Brunswick that Lindsay Harcum runs. He's a great practice leader in accounting, so if you are looking for somebody who knows the industry, who knows the resources, that's the person that you find, John Pennett. So John, over to you.
Thanks very much, Kathleen, and thanks everyone for coming today. Thanks to the BioLabs folks for hosting us. And it's great to have a place to be hosted, right? So to get out of our houses, to get away from a Zoom, and to actually go out and see people. The fact that there's a couple bottles of wine over there is just an added benefit. So that's always nice to have. But most importantly is we've got a really great panel for you today. Going to talk about some of the credits and incentives and a little bit about sort of the fundraising environment in total. So to start off with, I'm going to ask our panelists just to tell us a little bit about their companies first. So Mehdi, you're next to me. So tell us a little bit about your company, and maybe more importantly, how did you get here? How did you get to this company?
Sure. So hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I'm Mehdi Javanmard, co-founder and CEO of RizLab Health. At RizLab Health, our mission is trying to enable instant white blood cell analysis, one device targeted towards multiple indications ranging from infectious disease management to oncology to psychiatry. The first big indication that we're going after is antimicrobial resistance, which will be the cause of the next pandemic. Right? We haven't gotten out of this never-ending pandemic yet, and there's another big one coming up. And so we are a spinoff out of Rutgers University. We were founded in late 2018, so about to hit our fourth anniversary. We have been here at Princeton BioLabs since we've started. Our company has benefited from federal grants, also a lot of great support from CSIT, which we're very grateful for. Has really been great in bridging the gap between grants and also some venture capital funding as well.
Terrific, thank you. So Marco and I, we were wearing the same jackets today, so that was by design. We're from the same hometown, and our kids used to play together, so this is just part of the code of being a fellow Watchung person here. So Marco, please tell us a little bit about your company, and how did you wind up with your accent, living in Watchung, New Jersey?
Marco Taglietti, and so I'm the CEO and president of SCYNEXIS. So as you can guess from my accent, I'm not really a New Jersey native. I come from Brooklyn. Actually, I'm from Italy. I came to the US 30 years ago, and still with this accent, but you can't get rid of it, I can assure you. So SCYNEXIS is a company that is developing new anti-infectious products. Actually, my background, I'm an MD. I'm an infectious disease specialist, which, by the way, was pretty handy in the last couple of years with COVID. And I've been developing drugs for 30 years now. So I've been the CEO for since 2015. Maybe next slide. So here the company was actually incorporated in 1999 in Research Triangle Park, which, as you know, is an area in North Carolina which is really hosting many pharmaceutical companies, and it was a spin-off from Sanofi Aventis. What happened at SCYNEXIS? In our labs, we discovered this new systemic antifungal called ibrexafungerp. I will not ask you to say it. By the way, it took me quite a while to learn to say it so smoothly, ibrexafungerp. This was discovered at SCYNEXIS around 2005. The company became public in 2014, NASDAQ SCYX. And I joined the company actually in 2014. So after the company became public, I joined initially the board of directors as independent director. And then the company asked me if I was interested in running the company. So in 2015, I became the CEO and the president. I started the restructuring. And one of the first things I do in 2015 was actually to move the company from RTP, which is considered this place, the ideal place for pharmaceutical company, actually to Jersey City. And I think it was a great move. I will talk more about it in a moment. I brought a new executive team on board, and I expanded by ibrexafungerp. And one thing that we were able to do was really to file the first NDA for treatment of vaginal yeast infection in October, which was the first new antifungal class in over 20 years coming to the market. And as you know, small biotech company, not always they are able to get the product actually successfully developed and approved. So the product was approved in the US and launched as Brexafem last year. The indication for severe life-threatening hospital infection, which is another indication, expected in 2024. And I don't want to annoy more with our story, just to stress that our mission has been developing new anti-infective products. And now, of course, in the last few years, everyone knows about infectious disease. Everyone has become an epidemiologist with COVID. So you know how important it is to find new antimicrobials because there are new variants. So now people understand when I talk about variants, how problematic it is because there are new pathogens becoming resistant. And our status, we introduce this new class of antifungal, ibrexafungerp, is something that we believe is really not only a major advancement, was the first new class in over 20 years coming to the market, but also was truly our legacy. So, SCYNEXIS and New Jersey, well, love at first sight. I tell you what is that. I moved the company and we moved from RTP to Jersey City. We are based in Evertrust Plaza, Jersey City. Just to give you an idea, when we moved in, we were 6 employees in 2015. In fact, I was just telling someone that at the beginning, we didn't even, for the first month, we didn't even have Wi-Fi, the system. We just use a phone. We put the phone in the middle of the offices, and everyone was connected to the same phone for the internet. Today, more than 125 FTEs. We actually now have one full floor on the building that has been completely restructured. And we raised over $200 million during the period between 2015 and 2022. And out of these $200 million, 20 from New Jersey State. And that made a really difference. If you are a small biotech company, $20 million coming in tranches of about $4 or $5 million a year over 4 years, they make a difference. And so, thank you, New Jersey. I become actually coming now to some of these meetings because really I like to tell everyone that New Jersey can be a great place for health, for company in the healthcare industry and for a company doing research. So thank you very much for inviting me today.
Marco, is it going to be okay if Kathleen uses a couple of those slides? I think she could probably make some money off of those slides, right?
Just sending a picture to my comms team to tweet it out.
Okay. Must be a commission check in there somewhere, right? Judith, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get to the lofty position that you've got yourself to?
So I'm with the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, which, as Kathleen mentioned, is a sister agency to the EDA. I'll talk a little bit later about some of the programs that we have, but the Commission's focus is really the very early stage startup companies, before you might be too early for some of the programs that you're going to hear about from Kara from the Commission. When we take a look at some of the programs that we've run so far, many companies, I'd say probably well in excess sometimes of 80% of our applicants have 5 or fewer employees. So that we are really at the very beginning stages of working with companies. We have a lot of different types of grant programs. We're looking to also foster the connections between academia and industry. So some of our grants are going to help you make those connections. And Maku and Francis and I and Franklin, who is also on our team, who's not here today, we are on the phone every 2 weeks with collaborators from our university so we can help make those connections for you. We have a statewide perspective in terms of things that we do. Many of you might have remembered me when I used to work at New Jersey Institute of Technology and the Innovation Institute. So I do have perhaps a little bit more knowledge about some of the things that are happening up at NJIT, but we work with all of our universities.
Perfect. Yes, so I work alongside the commission. My name is Kara Moore. I'm the sector lead for life sciences at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. So I work with small and large companies. Maku and I were just on a call together yesterday with a small company talking about resources because we have resources that can help small and large companies. I come from Rutgers University in their Office for Research. So like Judith, I tend to have an idea of what happens within Rutgers, and I have a particular insight into what happens in tech transfer offices and commercializing technologies there. But I'm here to be your resource for, as Kathleen mentioned, to find a contact. I can be that contact for you for life science companies to make sure you're aware not only of the incentive programs we have available, but strategic support that we can provide as well. We're, for example, gathering a roundtable here in the next few weeks on innovative animal research and for people to conduct their animal studies and making sure people have the facilities available to do that research by connecting and being more of a matchmaker there. We're doing some workforce development programs. So we are outside of just programs, we are also here to be your strategic support here in the state to help you grow and innovate.
Great, thank you. So Kathleen just briefly introduced me before, but again, my name is John Pennett, Rutgers class of '85, and I'm from Freehold, so a lot of good connections, Watchung, so it's all right here in New Jersey, so it's perfect. I work with Eisner Amper, so accounting firm, consulting firm. We do outsource work, tax returns, audits, et cetera. Took a lot of companies public over the last couple of years, not too many the last couple of months, but the last couple of years we did quite a lot. And I'm also a member of the Mid-Atlantic BioAngels, so an angel investor in the life sciences sector. So we do a lot of things to help support entrepreneurship around the country, around the world, so we really like these types of programs. So that's terrific. So thanks for having me. Mehdi, maybe you could start off just a little bit, and maybe just tell us a little bit. You talked about having a couple grants. Talk a little bit about your experience in the process of getting the grants and what you've been able to accomplish a little bit with that.
So that's a great question. I think over the last few years, we've gotten support from the National Science Foundation in the form of SBIR support. We also got support from NASA Translational Research Institute for Space Health. They were interested in building. They had this program. It was called Labs to Go to Space. So our device is a portable device, and so that was attractive to them as a possible device that could be used on long-term space missions one day. And then the other form of support that we got, which was not quite a grant, but it was a advanced research contract that was from BARDA Drive, so Biomedical Advanced Research Development Agency. They fall under the auspices of Department of Health, and from them we got a contract. And I guess the difference between a grant and a contract is, you get for the grant you get the money up front, and then you have to do the work. With a contract, it's the opposite. You have to, you set milestones, and maybe you get a little bit of money just to kick off the program, but you have skin in the game, right? Like you have to essentially deliver on those milestones, and you get partial payments until you reach the final milestone. So I guess with that. We got support, I think 2 grants from CSIT, which was very helpful in bridging the gap. I think one thing that we've learned over the last few years, grant money is awesome. It's non-dilutive, so you get to keep your equity of the company. However, we've learned that you get the most flexibility and bang for your buck when you can balance it out with private funding. And so we last year we were funded by SOSV. So SOSV Ventures, actually based out here in Princeton, but they've got operations all over the world. So there was an accelerator, IndieBio in New York. We were part of the fall cohort last year. That was very helpful in helping us, de-risk our business model, de-risk the biology, and it also served as a great cost-sharing mechanism with our federal contract, because that was one of the requirements, that there be 33% cost share. So that was really, really critical. We also, since January of this year, we got selected to be part of HACS, which is SOSV's hardware accelerator. So they invested in RizLab in the form of in-kind services, which has actually been really good for us, because when developing hardware, you kind of run into this issue, whether you want to build, a homegrown team and hire lots of engineers, but that requires money, right? But to get money from investors, you need a product, right? And so it's this chicken and egg problem, and I think the way that we've learned to think about it is you want to build chickens that can lay eggs, make better and better chickens. Yeah, golden eggs ideally. Yeah, good point. And so Hacks has been really good because for example, when you talk to outside firms like product development firms, you get bills like sort of on the order of millions of dollars. But what Hacks has done is they've helped uh, you know, we have a co-development agreement with them where they're working together with us in helping us develop our hardware, but also teaching us how to be the CTOs and the VPs of engineering for our own company so that we fully understand the process of building a product. And as a first-time entrepreneur, that's coming more from a research background. That's something that's not always trivial. So I think, and Hacks I know has a big new operation in New Jersey and Newark right now. They've set up their new headquarters over there, which I think is great for the state. It's going to bring lots of companies and startups. I think that partnership is awesome, and we'll see the benefits to the local economy over the next few years. But yeah, so I think that summed up sort of the support we got.
So just real quick, when I was at the Bio International convention this past year, I sat in on a session about research that was being done on the space station. And one of the things that they talked about was growing crystals. And so they had one of the world's leading authorities on growing crystals. He said, we know exactly how these crystals are going to be formed. We're going to do it in this perfect environment, and we'll just prove the concept. And he said, we couldn't have been farther from the truth. It grew exactly the opposite of what we thought. So pretty cool if you could do that. So Marco, your story in terms of how you financed the company, obviously you've grown quite significantly. Maybe just take a couple moments and
Yes, so of course the first thing was to have something like you were saying, that is, we need a product. So our first financings were actually going through this standard route of finding investors willing to come in the company. But then we heard about these grants, these NOL grants from the state of New Jersey. To tell you the truth, is not the reason why we came to New Jersey, but maybe other reason, and maybe we can talk later on. But we said, okay, let's give it a try. And sometimes you're always a little skeptic, let's face it. When someone tells you, oh, you can make a few $1 million from the state of New Jersey, it's like, well, I don't know. And actually, it worked very well. First of all, the process was relatively straightforward. We managed it internally. We had our controller who actually collect all the information that was needed. And actually, I went today to ask her because was it difficult? Because of course, for me, it was very easy to say just do it, but she did it, and she confirmed to me that it was a straightforward process. We submitted it. She actually told me to thank NJEDA for the support. She said every time I had a question, I called and someone was calling me back right away, which, as you know, try with AT&T, just to make an example. So she was very happy. We submitted. One thing that I must say, the process then for the approval is a little mysterious, to tell you the truth. You never know when actually will happen. Sometimes some certain years has been relatively on time, some certain years a little bit later, and I think that is linked also to getting the funding. I don't know, all the mysteries that happen in Trenton. So, but at the end, it worked very well. Every year we were able to get it, and actually so much that our compliance auditor, our auditors, they start to assume that yes, every year we will getting it, which actually is very important for a public company to say, hey, there is a certain amount of cash is coming from New Jersey. This is the amount. We've been able to get it for 2 years in a row. We expect to get it, and they say yes. That we assume that this is 100% going to happen. So that is very, very important for a public company because it means increases our so-called cash runway. So process worked very well. We of course raised, as you will see, $200 million. So we had to raise also a lot of the finance. Doing clinical development is very expensive, so you need really a lot of cash. But these $20 million were extremely helpful, coming in, non-dilutive. And I know that my controller has been talking with other companies to tell them how to do it, because this is certainly something that helped us a lot.
Great, terrific. I think, yeah, so just going to maybe just flip to the next slide there. Oops.
Sorry.
There we go. So I have to stand up here because I can't see that sideways here. So I just wanted to take like 2 or 3 minutes here, and this is probably all stuff that you've seen. But I think the important part of this is to look at when you look at the public marketplace. So obviously most of you are earlier stage and you're not in the public sector. So what does this mean? Well, it starts at the top, right? So it's the sentiment about the industry. It's about how were they able to make money and return money to their investors. And if it hasn't been working too well, as you can see here from the dip, which has been kind of pronounced here, it obviously impacts the whole industry and the whole cycle. So it is something that even though it may seem very distant for a lot of you, it is something you do have to keep your eyes on. So what does that mean in terms of VC investment, right? So as you can see, the number of deals has started to drop, right? But you can see also that over the last couple of years, the value of the deals that were done and the number of deals were super high. So what we've seen in across our practice is the number of VC deals are smaller, but the dollars are bigger. So they're putting a lot of effort into the deals. They're going to put a lot of money to work. So that's causing a bigger canyon between the haves and the have-nots. So if you can't get that Series A from a VC, it's really hard to get there. So that's been really important. And I think one last slide here. So this is just, I pulled some information from the NIH funding, right? So you can see over time, the number of applicants there in the darker color continues to grow. So a lot of people are applying, but sort of the outcome and the amount of the awards has been relatively flat. So that means that there's a lot of people applying who are not quite getting their funding. So it'd be really nice if we could figure out how to close that gap. I'm not sure I have the magic bullet for that, but obviously there's a lot of innovation out there. It'd be great to have it funded somewhere. So I just want to kind of use this as kind of a starting point, and then we're going to let the ladies get into their program there. So Judith, I think you were first, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs from the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. And I know everybody likes money, right? Money, money, money. But in addition to the money, on the next slide, what you're going to see is that what we are really trying to provide are linkages to other resources that you need to grow your business, particularly some linkages to private R&D facilities, to personnel, to technology that you might need to complement the activities that you're doing. And we also want to get you connections to collaborators and customers, because one of the things that we know and is critically important is once you've developed something, you want somebody to actually try it out in a real world environment to make sure that what you're doing is actually something that they need. In terms of training, and this really kind of builds on John's point about NIH funding, we have provided support to the New Jersey Small Business Development Center. I don't know if Craig Schloss, okay, so Craig is over there. Craig is working with the New Jersey Small Business Development Center. I specifically wanted them to be able to be here tonight to meet with all of you. They have funding to be able to do some one-on-one coaching and support for you of efforts and activities that you're doing. And you should all put on your calendars, because you're all life sciences companies, on November 30th in the afternoon, we are doing a joint webinar with program officers from the National Institutes of Health are going to be on this webinar talking about what you need to be successful in getting an NIH opportunity. We may also have the ability, as part of this webinar, for you to set up some one-on-one times to actually talk to a program officer at the NIH to be sure that what you're looking to do matches up with what their needs and requirements are. But besides the NIH, even though you're all in the life sciences area, there are other federal agencies that are going to be interested in what you're doing. Mehdi talked about NASA having an interest. Department of Defense could be interested in what you're doing. National Science Foundation, depending on your area, could be Department of Education. So there's lots of opportunities beyond just NIH in terms of looking at trying to get grant funding. And we want to get more of our New Jersey companies being successful with that funding. So we have webinars as well as some in-person one-on-one coaching. On the financial side, we have a series of grant programs, and Mehdi and I think there's some other people here in the audience have been recipients of some of the grants from CSIT. I'll talk about, we have some matching grants on the SBIR STTR program. We will likely introduce some additional seed grant programs later in 2023. And then we have facility use vouchers, because again, we know many of you do not have sufficient dollars to be able to purchase all of the equipment that you're going to need. We want to get you linked up with facilities at New Jersey universities. So on the next slide, talks about our open SBIR STTR grant program. So if you have had an SBIR or STTR grant awarded, a phase 1 grant within the last 2 years, you are able to apply for up to $25,000. If you are in between a phase 1 and a phase 2 grant, you can apply for $50,000. We have some of the additional eligibility criteria on our website, and Francis Keel, who is here, is the program manager for that particular program. What is particularly important is to look at the due date. It is November 14th and before 5 p.m. And it's when our computer thinks it's 5 p.m., not when your watch or your computer thinks it's 5 p.m. So we encourage you to get your applications in advance if this is of interest to you. We've sent emails out to companies that we believe are eligible because we can find them through an SBIR federal database. We also may call people to encourage them to apply as well. Our next program that is open is our R&D voucher program. This program works on a rolling basis. You can apply to get up to $25,000 to be able to offset the cost of using specialized equipment at academic core labs at our 4-year universities, 2-year community colleges, as well as some of the other labs at Princeton Plasma Physics Lab, Hackensack Meridian Hospital, Coriel, the Army, and Joint Base Lakehurst. So reach out to us if you're interested in this program. It's a 2-step application. In the first step, you just tell us what you're looking to be able to do. Say that I need to be able to access MRI equipment. You may or may not know which university has it. Doesn't matter. We will be able to make the match for you. It works on a rolling basis. We're looking to add some additional funding into this program. It's been extremely successful. Many people have been using facilities at Rutgers, Princeton, NJIT on this program. And then the last slide that I have is a database, a free database, and you should all like free, called Research with New Jersey. You go to the QR code, it'll take you directly to the database. You can put in there in the search field any particular technical term that you're interested in, and it's going to come back with profiles of researchers, research outputs, which are papers, as well as intellectual property and grants that have been done around that particular area, which can help you find additional collaborators to work with you on these projects. Some of the things, when John showed that slide about the NIH grants, we know, and you know, that you may need a team. You might just be 2 people right now. You're saying, gosh, if I could only find an expert in X to augment my team, that would be great. Because on those federal grant awards, depending on whether it's an SBIR or STTR, you can subcontract out some work to New Jersey University academic to help you complete the work that you're looking to do. To really complement things, again, we work with early stage companies. Please reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you about the resources that we have, as well as make appropriate connections to some of the other resources that Kara is going to tell you about from NJEDA. Right, let's see if I can. I do. Am I sitting in the wrong? Maybe I sit back down here. It'll work. I don't know. So visualize. No. Okay, there you go. So we have quite a few programs within the EDA. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I've just highlighted a few on the next few slides. Angel Investor Tax Credit is a very popular program. I spoke to a few people, and how many have already taken advantage of the program in the audience? Okay, yes, a few, perfect, great. It is a wonderful program where you can get 20 to 25%, the investor can get 20 to 25% back on their investment in a company. The investor can be located anywhere in the world. And so how that works is the Department of Taxation will write them a check because they don't have a tax liability here in the state of New Jersey. The 25%, if you're a minority or women-owned business or in an opportunity zone, you get a bump up of an extra 5%, the investor. And this can also apply to founders too. If they own less than 80% of their company and they invest in their own company, they can also take advantage of this program and get that 20 to 25% tax credit. There are some rules around. You have to have 75% of the workforce here in the state of New Jersey and some other eligibility requirements, but a good program that's open on a rolling basis. NJ Accelerate, this is, I think Mehdi mentioned he's part of HACS. We have a few accelerator programs that we have partnered with. And how that works is we then end up matching the funding that they give the cohorts. So I believe HACS will give $250,000 to their cohort, and we will match that additional $250,000 as NJ Accelerate. In addition, we will set them up with some co-working space through our NJ Ignite program. So we have a list of a few accelerators that we work with. Not many are in New Jersey. HACS is one in New Jersey. But we want you to go to good best-in-class accelerators and then come back to New Jersey with that excess capital that we are going to give you as part of that program. And then the NOL program, I think Marco spoke highly of the net operating loss program. It opens up once a year, every May and June. This is an opportunity for companies who have NOLs on the books that can sell them off to profitable companies. That tax offset of roughly 9%, they can sell that back off to profitable companies and have access to that capital. So it's non-dilutive capital. The average award this past year was $3.1 million. So we had 24 early stage companies receive the $75 million cap that we have each year. So we maxed out on that program this year. So I encourage you, if you have NOLs, take advantage of that program. And you can also retroactively, if you have NOLs for the past few years you haven't taken advantage of, you can add them into the mix as well. Few other programs, founders and funders, and I think Mehdi, you might have taken advantage of this. It was at Princeton BioLabs when it was hosted. We moved this around the state to different locations. This is a speed networking event, kind of like a dating opportunity, but you're dating with investors. So we will pair you with either angel investors or VC investors, and you have the opportunity to meet with 6 to 8 investors for 10 minutes each in a cycle through an evening. So we hosted it at NJIT, the last one. So we're looking to do the next one in the spring, either in Central or South Jersey. So more to come there. If you go to our website, go ahead and register. And if we have you on the registration list, we'll reach back out to you to see if you're interested in participating in the next one. You'll be paired matched on the industry you're in and the stage and the investment type that you're seeking. Golden Seeds, this is a fantastic chapter that NJEDA runs for women entrepreneurs. If you have a woman in the C-suite who is running a company who would be more in the tech life sciences field, we have a co-working group that meets once a month to meet with angel investors from our Golden Seeds chapter. It's a potential to meet those angels and then potentially get investment. So we're always seeking new people to run to that monthly event. So if you're a woman founder or a woman in the C-suite, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to make that connection.
And then the last program I'll highlight as a current program is NJEDA, where here the BioLabs is one of our Ignite partners. The New Jersey Bioscience Center that Lindsay runs is one of those partners, where we will pay, some of your rent. It's a rent subsidy program. So if you have a 12-month lease, we'll pay 6 of your 12 months to utilize those spaces. We have traditional desk space, but then there are lab spaces, and not often, but I'm going to mention now, the New Jersey Bioscience Center does have space available, does have incubator space available, wet lab space. So feel free to find Lindsay if you're seeking some space right now, because it's rare to have wet lab space available at the New Jersey Bioscience Center. VentureLink is up in Newark, and then in Rowan we have the South Jersey Tech Park, but we have a whole list of other centers that we have partnered with for this NJEDA program. The Evergreen Fund, and this is Grace, so if you have more questions about this, feel free to find Grace. This is a new program we just launched. We're raising a little over $500 million to fund startups in the state of New Jersey. We just closed our step 1, where we have auctioned off tax credits to profitable companies to help raise that fund. So we did a pilot program of 30 million. We were oversubscribed, so we upped that ante. Now we closed the auction with $50 million in corporate tax credits. Our next step is we're going to qualify venture firms that can draw down from that fund. So they can match up to $6.25 million. So if they find you and they want to invest in you for $2 million, they can come to us and say, we found a New Jersey firm we want to invest in, and draw down up to $6.25 million to match their fund. So we will qualify the VCs, and we will list the names of those VCs that we're working with on our website, likely going to be in Q1, because we'll have to approve them through the board in order to post them on our website. But those might be VCs or investors you seek out, knowing that they could double their investment in your company. And so that will be very exciting. We're going to run that for the next 5 years. So it's going to be a lot of capital available to startups in the state of New Jersey. And then 2 other exciting programs. Life Sciences Fund. This is coming through SSBCI money, a state small business credit initiative funds. We're getting roughly $250 million from the federal government that we're chunking up into a variety of programs. One of those is the Life Sciences Fund. This is going to solely support early stage life science companies in the state of New Jersey. We'll be seeking a fund manager or multiple fund managers to manage this money. And it could be 3 fund managers, each have $20 million, but they have to invest in early stage life science companies. We expect that to go live in Q1 of 2023 as well. So with Evergreen and this Life Science Fund, there's going to be a lot of capital available to startups in the state. And then the Angel Match Program is another program that's replaced our earlier CoVest program, but we will match up to $500K in angel investments. So if you have a friend or family who's looking to invest in your company, and we can come in at the term sheet level to invest in up to a match of $500K investment. And then I think Kathleen had mentioned our MVP program. It was too early for me to add to the slides, but the manufacturing voucher program is a fantastic program. From small to large companies, you can buy used equipment or new equipment. You get a bonus for buying equipment manufactured in New Jersey. That's a 10% bonus to find New Jersey manufacturing companies. So we have more programs coming online soon with that $250 million, but I'm hoping some of these might have gotten you excited about some of the programs we have available. I think that's all I have, and I don't know if we. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure. So it's a little after 6. So Michelle, how much should we just take questions now? Okay. So maybe if everyone can come on back to our assigned seats, so you don't have to crane your neck there staring at the board. We'll open it up to some questions from the audience. We have a couple questions we can ask as well, but I thought it'd be helpful the group that we have up here. If there's some questions, please raise your hand.
No, it's the VC, the Evergreen Fund. The VC will be doing the investment and we will be taking a Grace. Forgive me.
My gosh, and take a portion of equity, but the state will not take a portion, but will be co-investing alongside with.
It's a special purpose vehicle we'll create alongside the VC firm.
Hope you guys can catch these things as I toss them out here.
Marco, yes. Yeah. Oh, so it has to be in one of our strategic sectors, so life sciences as a whole.
Yeah.
And it has to be something for your business. So you could have a piece of $1 million equipment, and we will fund 30 to 50% of that cost.
Question over here.
The VCs participating in what is important, right? Will it work like a non-dilute funding or will it dilute?
So I don't know if you heard that. He was asking the question from if the VCs co-invest, is it going to be dilutive to the ownership, or is it non-dilutive?
Yes, it will be like a traditional VC investment. It will be a traditional VC investment. It would be just as if the VC were investing and we weren't involved.
Okay,
They have then extra capital to access in their investment.
thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'll see that companies are looking to top off their investment round, right? So they're looking to raise 10, maybe they've been able to find 8. So if they're able to find these types of matching funds, that's a way to really get to that total number that they're looking for. And I don't think I've ever heard of a VC or a private equity group complaining about that either. So.
Either one? Both on? Okay. Okay, so my question is for the 2 successful startups here. And I guess as I was listening, I don't think I heard anything about any angel investments. Did you have angel investments, or were you able to successfully go straight to venture? Well, between using the non-dilutive funding. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Actually, we didn't use angel investments. When I became the CEO, I went straight to the company that became public. After the IPO, I went for another financing. But we used the other angel investment
Tax credit.
Which actually was incredibly helpful later on, especially in the difficult years in which there was less investment on that investment. So you put $5 million and you would get 20%, but you get up to
500,000.
500,000. So that can be a significant discount on top of the discount that they just already get for when they passive financing. Usually, passive financing, they may ask something that goes from 15 to 25% of your market price, and this can add even 20%. So we can support that really very, very good type of investment. Angel match, the one you just put out, is that replacing the angel tax credit?
No, they're both there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So as far as actually, I forgot to mention, we did do an angel round last summer to essentially top off the investment that we got from it.
Can you define what you mean by life sciences? Because we're a technology company helping life sciences. So we often find ourselves one bucket or the other, but we fit both.
So from a strategic sector standpoint, sometimes when we think about like life sciences, it's the drug therapeutics, it might be tools, diagnostics, and therapeutics, so that you could be within a whole range. From a strategic perspective, on some of the programs that CSIT does, we might ask you to check off, are you life sciences? Are you a technology company? I'm assuming that technology might be perhaps the other way that you are defining yourself, because we just want to know that you're within the ambit of strategic sectors that are important for the state of New Jersey. And I'll let Kara speak to like the definition of life sciences, and it might apply to some of these other programs that she's looking at.
Right, so we have 9 strategic sectors that Governor Phil Murphy has outlined, and technology, the broad word of technology, is one of our strategic sectors. So you would fit within our strategic sectors, either in life sciences or technology. Angel investor tax credit is aligned with our strategic sectors, so you would be able to take advantage of that. The NOL program, one caveat to that is you have to have IP in order to take advantage of that program. So that's it's not life science focused. The Evergreen Fund is open to all of our strategic sectors. So you've got that. The Life Science Fund is probably the one that might have a little concern. It depends on how the investor might define it. So we don't have much information there until we do the solicitation.
Yeah, specifically technology to help pharmaceutical companies accelerate.
Okay, then I would consider you a life science company.
Me too. So certainly when you see like convergence of technology and healthcare and things like that. So it was like blasphemy, what was it, like 10 years ago when people said Walmart's going to become the world's largest healthcare provider. So now it's going to be Amazon, right? And then eventually it'll be something entirely digital. So it'll be the metaverse that will become the largest healthcare provider someday, right? So, George, you had a question in the back. You got to talk loud.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you saw Kathleen's slide about some of the big players moving in. Gilead Sciences coming in to do to grow their workforce up to 500 people in Parsippany. We have a program called NJEDA, which it's a job creation program that will fund $500 to $8,000 per job per year for 7 years. So that's a pretty, depending on how many jobs you're bringing in. We're talking to many companies that are not located here in New Jersey, and NJEDA is an attractive financial incentive program for companies to take advantage of. The MVP program, larger companies can take advantage of. I know $250K to a large company is not a lot of money, but it's still something that large companies can take advantage of.
What about companies, you kind of touched on it, that aren't currently in New Jersey or this area and are looking to perhaps relocate?
Oh, I love it.
Did. And obviously these are great incentives, but what about getting here? Are there ways to help offset the cost of getting here? Or if you're tapping into, while you're in the process of relocating, perhaps if you're tapping into Rutgers or CROs in the area, to qualify for those incentives, or do you have to be here, incorporated here, have to go through that?
Right. There has to be you have to be registered to do business in the state of New Jersey. And then the programs, you could be, let's say you're in New York right now and you're thinking about setting up a footprint in New Jersey. The angel investor tax credit at the time of application has to have 75% of the workforce in New Jersey. And so there has to be payroll that would show that. Our Ignite program, if you're looking just to set up shop and maybe you're on the startup side, that's a great way to take advantage of that program at the New Jersey Bioscience Center if you want to set up in the Incubator. The NOL program, you would have to accrue NOLs in the state of New Jersey in order to take advantage of that. The Evergreen and Life Science Fund have lowered the restrictions on it's 50% of the workforce would have to be in the state of New Jersey in order to leverage those programs. So perhaps there's a satellite office.
Yeah, so let me, and kind of similar with the programs from the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, the eligibility on many of the programs is around 50% of the workforce on a FTE equivalent kind of basis. Because again, we understand that companies may have some of their staff located elsewhere. Not all their staff is going to be located in New Jersey, and you could be incorporated. You could be a Delaware C Corp. You don't have to be a New Jersey corporation. In fact, we know many companies are Delaware incorporated companies.
Hey, Judith, could you tell us a little bit about some of the resources that may be available to help companies, like when they're going through the grant application processes? Things like that?
Sure. So, the grants can be somewhat difficult. I like to say the organization that brought you the SBIR, STTR program is the same organization that brought you the IRS and all of the tax stuff. So the forms can be Some people do like the IRS. You like the IRS, John?
They help pay me.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's why people are like relying on him, because it's a little bit complicated. So the SBIR STTR program can be somewhat complicated, which is why we have partnered with the Rutgers Small Business Development Center to help provide training and assistance to companies. Because one of the things you have to first off figure out is which agency should I apply for? And as I mentioned, many of the agencies, not just NIH or Health and Human Services, are interested in life sciences sets of activities. Additionally, the paperwork itself can be somewhat complicated for companies who've applied for that process. You know, it is not like buying a book on Amazon where you like wake up, you register yourself, and you're good to go. There's a bunch of different registrations that you need to do. One is called SAM, and I forget exactly what it stands for. I think it's Systems for Award Management. You must be registered in SAM in order to apply for a grant, and that can take up to a month to apply. So that we really recommend that if you're interested in doing that, do take a look at information on each of the websites from the different agencies. And the SBA also has on their website some online tutorials that help walk you through some of those steps. Additionally, there are consultants within the environment, within our community, within our ecosystem, who are able to work with companies. I know there's a consultant, if you want to raise your hand, who helps companies in a variety of areas work on their actual grant applications. Sometimes if you're working with a university as a partner, a university may also be able to help you write some of the technical aspects that go into your proposals. But we really want to see more New Jersey companies applying for federal money. There's a lot of federal money that's being made available across a variety of sectors, and we'd like companies to apply, and we'd like to help them be successful.
Yeah, terrific. And I'll just mention also, since you mentioned the IRS, right? So there's also the federal R&D tax program that's out there. So you can, if you have R&D credits, and that's a defined term under the Internal Revenue Code, you can monetize those in part currently by using it to offset a portion of your FICA match for your payroll. So you can take those credits and you can use them today. So it's another non-dilutive form of funding. It's tax forms, and then you work with your payroll provider to apply that. But if you are spending money on R&D, it's another thing to look at to help along the way there. Another question, Peter?
Oh, yeah, I just, you had that slide up before that showed the amount of NIH applications versus the number of grants awarded, and I believe, is there the same thing with the SBIR and STTR?
Yeah, in general, the SBIR, STTR award rates are around 25 to 30% success rate, because again, they get so many companies who are applying, and I see a number of people kind of shaking their head. They will disqualify your application if you don't have the forms correct, if you don't have the font size correct, if you don't have the margins correct. If they say you can do a 15-page proposal and you somehow, when you turn it into a PDF, you've got one line on page 16, into the trash. So that they are really very precise about what their applications look like, because they have so many applications that they're dealing with. On the flip side, the agencies, many of them are looking to increase the number of applicants, particularly from women, underrepresented, under-resourced entrepreneurs, so that they're willing to talk to you and help you and give you some advice and guidance as well.
Keep it on the subject of consultants. Is there any availability to help with things like market research, quantifying market sizes, customer understanding is a little better?
So some of our seed grant programs, which we again anticipate opening up in 2023, allowed companies to use a portion of their R&D budget for things like market discovery, as well as intellectual property patent protection as well. The other programs that might be, again, of interest, Princeton University is an NSF I-Core hub. The NSF I-Core program lets teams do customer discovery work in addition to having teams that are coming out of the New Jersey universities apply for that. They are also accepting some what they are calling community teams in the technology sector, so that you might look to apply to participate in the I-Core program. I-Core is all about doing customer discovery. For anyone who's been through it, you need to do at least 100 interviews with customers to validate that what you're looking to work on is actually something that customers are really interested in.
I think a lot of the accelerators and incubators have that as a major portion of their program. So if you do into like a Y Combinator or any of the groups like that, that's an important part, is sort of the product market fit. So that's a big part of their thing.
I'm fine, I can talk loud. So, in regards to the Evergreen Fund, my question is, what's the process for the venture fund selection, and what's the way these venture funds are going to find companies, and how their interactions are going to go, and the timeline for that?
So yes, so there is a team. Grace is part of that team that is in the process. We're now closing out the auction phase, but there will be a process very soon to engage with the VCs and the investors. They have to have some sort of tie to New Jersey. So whether the founder is from New Jersey or they've had a history of investing in New Jersey, there has to be some sort of stake to New Jersey. We anticipate it being a mid-Atlantic VC community. We are open to talk to many investors, and I'm sure the team would love to have referrals, because we want to we want this to be successful. We want the companies to be able to find those investments, and we want to make sure we're using all this money that we've raised. So the more investors we have available, the more they can access this capital. So once we've qualified them as investors, then we know that they can draw down, they can contact us and then draw down from that fund. So the base is $5 million. They can draw down, but then there are bonus points for minority women-owned business, so that they could draw down up to $6.25 million. So we expect, I was talking to the gentleman who runs that group yesterday. We were hoping to have the VCs listed by the end of the year, but it sounds like with the board meeting, it might be early February when we get those approved by the board, that we can then publish on our website. But once they're approved by the board, they're going to be off and running. So we're ready to get that capital to work.
So Michelle's promised me I can get a glass of wine now, but beforehand, we need to take a second to say thank you to our panelists. Great job there.